Hello and welcome back. So today we are talking self-sabotage, and I have named this the art of self-sabotage because I can guarantee that for most of you, this has become an art. Sometimes in the tiniest little ways, sometimes in the big noticeable ways, but there will be a way that you are sabotaging yourself out of getting you to where you want to go, out of achieving your dreams, out of creating more love for yourself, that business, that connection, that freedom. And there is pretty big reason why. So today I'm going to talk you through what self-sabotage actually is, why we do it, and how to move through self-sabotage so that you can actually create the life, the dream, the desires that you really, really deserve to have. So stick with me. Welcome to the Pursuit of MiSELF, the podcast. Here we take ownership of our healing. We rewrite the rules, we turn knowledge into wisdom, and we lead our lives with intention. I'm your host, Rayne, and it's my mission to empower you to get back into the driver's seat of your life. So welcome back to another episode of the Pursuit of MiSELF. I have had a really interesting week, and this podcast episode has actually been inspired by a few things that I've been working through myself. So I know last week I talked about this Japan trip that I want to take my children on, and I've been manifesting, and every morning, I do my routines and I do my journaling, I do my meditation. Okay, admittedly, sometimes I switch that up for a 5:15 workout class on a Tuesday and a Thursday. But it's been really, really interesting because as I'm expanding into this new level, so much doubt is coming up. All the old programming is coming up. And the self-sabotage is in your mind, literally telling you the same stories over and over again. Why you can't, why it's not working for you, why you're not good enough, why you don't have enough money, why that relationship will never be possible for you, why all these things come up when we're expanding. So at the moment, my morning routine on let's call it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and the weekends will look like my alarm will go off between 5 and 5:30. And I will do about 45 minutes to an hour of a reprogramming meditation. So that is, I'm actually using Dr. Joe Dispenza at the moment, and I'll put him on and I'll spend an hour really going deep into his meditations. I will then get up, I'll journal everything that's going on, and I will get on with my day. The really interesting thing about that is the more that I do that, the more I can really notice when my mind starts wandering. So let's say the Dr. Joe Dispenza, the meditation is about, imagining this thing that you desire, that you're there and you're feeling it. Let's use snow, for example. We're in the snow. You can feel the cold on your fingers. You can, smell the ramen in the air, whatever it is for you. So what happens when you get used to doing that over and over again is throughout your day, it becomes really noticeable when you default to your old negative or limiting or block beliefs. So every time I think about, okay, I've got to book my flight, the block is, but what if you can't afford it? Where are you going to get your money from? You could just ask your parents for a loan, like rah, rah, rah. And then you notice the old stories coming in. The challenge then is to bring yourself back. So you stop and you think the cold on the fingers, the snow, the smells, and you put yourself back in a position of this is done. Like that story, that beautiful vision in my mind, it's a done deal. Right? Because the energy flows where your focus goes. And without going too deep into all the science of this, there is so much now around any neuroscientists. There's some neuroscientists that are documenting if you want to change the script of your life, you must step into the future self of who you want to be, the future experience of what you want to be, the feeling of already having it. But when we don't tap into that every single day, we don't allow ourselves the opportunity to see where we default back, right? So what I have been doing is really noticing when I default back. But I'm only able to do this because I'm so committed to my morning routines. I'm so committed to understanding how my mind works, my limiting beliefs, my blocks, and I can start rewriting them then and there. So if you're going to ask me what I do on the Tuesdays and Thursdays, so Tuesdays and Thursdays, I get up at 4:55 and I do at 5:15 weights session, which is so awesome. I love it. And then when I get home on those days, I just do a 15-minute silent meditation. I just put my alarm on because I have that amount of time before I have to get the kids up for school. I'll do some journaling and I'll just do some visioning of what I want, where I'm going, whether that's in business, whether that's just a peaceful day, whether that's getting my to-do list done, whatever that is. But I have really put a lot of effort into starting my day with clear intention, starting my day in the energy that I really want to attract. I've put my morning routine up on Instagram, and I'll see if I'll put a link actually below here so you can have a look. It's the 15-minute one. It's not the hour-long one, so don't get all scared if you don't want to snap into a super long meditation, although highly, highly, highly recommend. But when we become really intentional about how we want our day to start and what we want to experience, we've already started to win the day. Does this mean our day goes perfectly? Hell no. I can still have lots of moments where I'm screaming at the kids and cooking 3 different breakfasts and lunches and no one's grateful and trying to get them out the door and who hasn't brushed their teeth and all the things that we've got going on. But the more I practice and the more I do it, the more I'm telling myself I am worth it. I deserve this. This is possible for me. This is what life is going to feel like. This is what I get to feel like now. I get to be really grateful for everything that's happening in my life now. And that is the essence. That is the core essence of really stepping in to alignment into what you're trying to attract. And I say the core essence because so many of us, and me included, over the years, we reach outside ourselves for that person that's going to do it for us, the one that's going to keep us accountable, the one that is going to give us the roadmap, the business strategy. Whereas if we can't even do these one simple morning routines, rituals, setting ourselves up for our day, nothing really is going to work. You're going to be spinning your wheels, constantly looking for something outside of them there to tell you how to get to where you want to go. And the answers in all my teachings are inside of you. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. Right? Know yourself, grow yourself, evolve yourself. This is an opportunity to really empower yourself and understand, are you taking responsibility for where you're wanting your life to go? Now, that is going to lead us into today's episode again, which I have called the art of self-sabotage for a reason. This is all the ways that we sabotage and why. So, it could be a big one. Get your pen and paper out, take a deep breath. This is not an opportunity for you to judge yourself. This is an opportunity to get curious, very, very curious about why you show up in your life the way you do and how you can empower yourself to make a different choice. So let's go. So you've either heard this before or you've spoken it to yourself before or you've heard it on Instagram or somewhere, but you're self-sabotaging yourself. You are making choices that are sabotaging where you want to go. But here's the truth that I really want you to hear. So sabotage is not about judging ourselves for being lazy or weak, because that's what I tend to see when people get down on themselves. It's like, I'm self-sabotaging. I didn't choose that and I chose this, right? This is not about you being lazy, weak, or even wanting to make a big change in your life. What self-sabotage is it's about safety. It's about your system, your nervous system saying, I don't believe it's safe to have what I want. And the interesting thing about that statement is that whether it is something that you deeply desire, that is a big thing that you believe you can have or not, or whether it's just getting up in the morning and exercising and doing that consistently, if it is out of alignment with the way that you've been behaving for a long period of time, your system will not feel safe doing that. Okay? It will find reasons to self-sabotage you, to keep you stuck in the reality, in the patterns that it's used to having you in. Because regardless of whether it is constructive or not, it is safe. And this is where goal setting and manifestation and desires, this is where it can get really messy. We all know, we all know. So when I was really wanting to create this business and wanting to grow this business, I had a lot of stories running in the background. I was a single mum. I was tired. I needed a glass of red wine at night to calm me down. Suddenly, when the kids were in bed, that was my time. And that's when I would start writing my blogs and doing my work. but I also knew that I wanted to exercise in the morning. And I knew that I needed to get up early because that was the endorphins, that was the energy, that was the self-love that I needed to create a really good, consistent flow of creativity, to create a really good, consistent flow of health, and to be able to show up as my best self in the business. But my self-sabotage was in the fact that I felt like I was a victim to my life. I felt like I didn't have a choice. I felt like I deserved to stay up after the kids went to sleep. And whilst all of these stories hold truth, none of them were actually serving where I wanted to go. So at that time, it was serving what I needed it to serve, but none of it was serving the growing of the business, the expanding of the abundance, or any of the bigger desires that I had. And what happens is when we are subscribing to stories that aren't in alignment with where we're going, we will self-sabotage. So because it doesn't feel safe. So me being bigger, me being more abundant, me being super healthy and bright and alert didn't fit my narrative of being the victim single mum who got no sleep, worked her ass off, had no money, raising kids on her own, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that was where my nervous system sat, and that's where it wanted me to stay. So at the end of the day, when the kids were to go to bed, I found it hard not to have a glass of wine because that was it. That was my time. And then I found it hard not to stay up till midnight writing. And although these things can pat yourself on the back and say, well done, it was a way that was self-sabotaging my ability to get up early and to actually do the things that I wanted to do during the day. And the reason I tell you this story is not because I'm sitting here in judgment or shame of myself or my choices, but we really need to start bringing awareness to the choices that we are making. Are they in alignment with where we're wanting to go, or are they in alignment with our current reality? And there's a really big distinction here, because the self-sabotage, as we say, I knew where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do, but I wasn't committed enough to being and showing up as my future self on a daily basis. And why that's important is because when we are committed to showing up as who we want to be, not who we are now, okay, it's not easy. We don't feel like life is in flow. It is uncomfortable. It is hard to commit to, okay, I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to go to bed early. I'm going to set that alarm for 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to have my hour to myself before the kids get up, right? It takes discipline. It takes self-integrity. And it takes consistency and commitment to actually stop self-sabotage of the dreams and the things that you desire. And we can kind of look at self-sabotage as, oh, this is just, I'm self-sabotaging. I can't get up early, and this is my commitment, and this is what I have to do, right? But you can also start looking at this as empowering yourself to say, what choices am I making? Am I subscribing to the fact that I have to? Am I subscribing to the fact that I have no choice? Can I bring some presence and awareness to what I'm choosing in this moment? And is it in alignment with what I'm trying to create? Because when we call ourselves out with honesty, right? I was self-sabotaging, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't feel safe. I was self-sabotaging because I didn't feel safe in this person that I was trying to become. I knew that victim single mum. I knew that story like the back of my hand. I was safe there. I could play that role over and over again. I felt safe there, or my nervous system felt safe there. It didn't feel safe in the empowerment of me actually changing and getting a hold of my life and creating something that was absolutely incredible at that time. So when we set goals, and this is where I see a lot of people will fall over as well. I do a lot of I don't do, New Year's resolutions and, the manifestation word. I love manifestation. I don't like it's a buzzword. I'm like, let's set some really strong intentions. When you sit there right now and you set your intentions, whether it's for wellness or love or money or simple intentions like a calm morning, right? And then you can sit back and you can go, what am I doing that's actually in alignment with that? Am I going to bed at the right time? Am I having deeper conversations with my partner? Am I conscious and looking at my money and maybe starting to invest? Am I, getting up to go to the gym? Are we making these decisions, or are we allowing the self-sabotage? Are we allowing the nervous system to avoid it, to do everything in its power to avoid you actually achieving what you want to do. Because what happens then is we sit in guilt, we sit in shame, we sit in I'm not good enough, I'm lazy, I can't do this, I'm not worthy of, I don't deserve. Instead of going, you know what? Fuck, I'm just making choices that are not in alignment with where I want to go. I mean, how would that feel if you just woke up and said, I'm going to make choices in alignment with what I want, period. That's it, full stop. What would those choices be? And get really, really clear on what they are and then commit to them. What would that kind of life feel like for you? Really big truth in all of this is that manifestation, desires, it's not about thinking harder. It's not about writing affirmations. It's not just about writing it down or waiting for the universe to deliver. What we have to do is actually align what we want with what we believe, with what our nervous system's going to allow us to do, with action. And those are the steps that need to be in place. So now that I've said those 4 steps, right, we need to align with our beliefs and our nervous system and our action. Now that I've said that, can you understand why the self-sabotage is a lot easier than actually looking at that system that needs to happen to make some change? This is too hard. I'm too tired. I can't. My husband won't let me. I'm interrupting this podcast episode because I have a huge announcement. The MiSELF method has launched. This is the emotional intelligence method for women building powerful, purpose-led lives. If you want results in your career, your relationships, and your bank account, it all starts here. Because real change doesn't happen through mindset hacks or hustle or pushing. It happens when your nervous system feels safe, your energy is clear, and your beliefs finally match what you want. The MiSELF method is my 10-week guided experience to help you stop spiraling, start deciding, and shift into emotional and energetic alignment that actually sticks. This is a foundational work that will change everything. I'll put a link below. Enrollments are open for our only intake for 2025. Let this be the moment that you make the choice that your life will change forever. I'll see you inside the MiSELF method. All these things that might actually be reasons, but are we using them as reasons or empowering ourselves to make choices, to not use them as excuses, to see where we can actually make some change in our life? There are subconscious beliefs that creep in and block your desires. And this is where I can't go too deep into this one. Maybe we'll do this next week. The subconscious beliefs that block your desires. For example, one of my subconscious beliefs as the victim single mum was that I had to do everything. I had to do everything myself. I saw my mum do everything herself, and so I had to do everything herself. I had to do the cooking and the cleaning and earn the money and pick up the kids and be there for them and put them to bed and drop them off and do all the sport and coach the basketball and all these sort of things. And while I believe that that is a beautiful thing, did I need to do all of it? Was that belief system blocking my true desire of wanting to build an empire and build a business and build connection outside of that? Well, it actually, if we look at the truth, it really was. My ego loved the fact that I was like doing everything myself and always tired. But my bank balance, my income, my passion, my desire got further and further and further away because I was subscribing to a story about single mums that wasn't my own. It was a story that I'd witnessed. It was a story that I'd sunk into myself, that I wore like an armor. And when we start unblocking the beliefs about why we keep choosing the things we do, you'll start to understand, see yourself with compassion and understanding, and notice where you are self-sabotaging, because self-awareness is really the first doorway to open to understand why we self-sabotage in the first place. So let's take this a little bit further. Why we self-sabotage is because the safety is in the belief system or is in the familiar. Your system trusts that your story is easier to follow than the new possibility. So my story of being the victim single mum was a lot easier to follow than the possibility of being a CEO empire who was still being able to be present with their kids and still being able to do pickups and drop-offs and still being able to have kids that were, well fed and looked after and adored. That story hadn't happened yet. So my safety was in this familiar. And that's where I would self-sabotage to keep in my familiar story. We self-sabotage because of fear about whether we are worthy to have what I want. It's like, if I get what I want, then what happens next? If I become that person with the business and the income and I have more freedom, does that mean that I'm still going to be a good mum? Or does that mean that I'll have different responsibilities? Does that mean I'll have to neglect my kids? So these fears of us either being worthy or the fear of not knowing what this new path possibility could actually do for us will also have us self-sabotaging. We self-sabotage because we have conditioned ourselves to live by other people's rules. We chase status and we chase things because we should, and not because maybe they're truly aligned with your authentic self. So it's like borrowing other people's whys and slapping them on as your own and thinking, this is how I have to show up, right? This is how I have to be because this is what was told to me. So you're borrowing other people's why. And the work that we do here, the inner work, is navigating. Are you living by other people's rules, or are you showing up truly aligned and authentic in what you want and in your belief systems? We get this identity gap, whereas we're wanting something without becoming the version of who you are or who you need to be to have that thing. So as I said, when we're borrowing people's whys, when we're showing up as who we should be and not because it's truly us, and we're pushing that narrative constantly, there does become this identity gap. When we start dreaming and thinking about what we truly desire, there becomes an evident identity gap. It's like, I would like to be this. I desire to have this business. I desire to work for myself. I desire to coach. I desire to bring something new into the world. But at the moment, you just can't see any way towards that from where you really are. So there's this identity gap. How does this single mother put on the energy of having this kind of business, right? So we do the, let's say, manifestation work. We get in that energy like I spoke about earlier, but there is still the identity gap. So we self-sabotage because it's really hard to actually wake up and put yourself in the shoes of the person of yourself that's in the future, right? It's much easier just the moment we wake up, the anxiety kicks in, the to-do list kicks in, the responsibilities kick in, and your day is on autopilot already. But to get rid of that, or to understand your identity gap between where you're trying to go and where you are now, we self-sabotage because it is hard. And reason that it is hard is because we can't always see the roadmap in front of us. It's really hard for people to be like, just trust and just move in a way that feels joyous and aligned when you're so freaking stressed out. Stressed about money, stressed, you're tired, you're stressed about the fact that you haven't exercised, you're stressed about what your children are eating, whether or not they're even going to school. There's so many things in life that bring you back down into your reality. And so the self-sabotage is maybe you're committing to yourself to get up every day for 15 minutes and put yourself in the energy of who already has it, of what you're trying to create, and you just stop. You maybe do it for a couple of mornings and you stop. It's easier to just ignore that and just to stay stuck where you are, doing what you're doing, because your nervous system finds it safe. So how you actually get all out of this. And apart from being in the energy of what you're trying to create, one of the biggest ways so how do you actually work through self-sabotage? Yes, we've talked about getting into the energy of who you want to be every single day. But the biggest thing that I talk to my clients about is a really strong why. It's like, okay, I want to start exercising. Why? Why do you really want to start exercising? I want to make $10,000 months. But why? Why do you want to make $10,000 months? I want to start a clothing label. Why? What would that clothing label mean to you? Like, why do you want to do that? I want to write a book. Why do you want to write a book? Like, why? And the reason why this why is so important, right, is because your why, a really strong why that is connected to you authentically, not a why of someone else. Your really strong why is what will carry you through the self-sabotage. And I'm not talking about a why that's either built on proving yourself, a why that's built on ego. Oh, because I need that sort of money because then people will like me. A why that's built on anything other than one that is anchored in your truth and in your self-love. The why is so important. And when we are so disconnected from ourselves, when we are disconnected from who we are, when we are disconnected from our authenticity, the why can actually be a really hard thing to grasp. We need to find more meaning in this life rather than why do you want to exercise? Oh, because I want to lose weight. But why do you want to lose weight? Because I want to look good in bikinis. But why do you want to look good in bikinis? Because I need more self-esteem. Well, this is where that ego drives the why. You can seriously see how you getting out of bed to go exercising just to look good in bikinis, is that a why that is strong enough that is going to get you out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5 days a week? I tell you now, it will not, which is why so many people start and stop. Your why might be more aligned to because I want to go to the beach with my children and throw a ball and be comfortable in my bathing suit instead of throwing a ball with them in the backyard and not wanting anyone to see me, right? Your why has to be anchored in something that's so deeply meaningful that will carry you through the self-sabotage. It's investigating a why that is aligned to you, your truth, your love, your authenticity. Now, if you work with me, you'll know that I work with authentic words. And a lot of my clients have 3 or 4 words that they live by, right? Mine is freedom, mine is finance, connection, and legacy. So everything that I do, my why is around my authentic words. So I build, why do you want to, earn $30,000 months, Rayne? Well, because I want the freedom in my life to say yes to anything that I want to do. There's my authentic word. Because I want to build a legacy that I can pass on and work with my children in, because that is really important to me. Okay. Why? Because I desire deep connection and I get to connect with all of my clients because that is so authentic with me. So everything, you can see how my why is really anchored into my own authenticity and my truth. So when I am working and making decisions and getting up at 5:15 in the morning or 4:55 in the morning, when I'm meditating for an hour, I find it easy because my rituals, my routines, my choices are empowering and they're anchored in my why, right? Let's say we want more money. Why do you want more money? So I can feel safe. Safe in what? Why do you need to feel safe? Safe because I own a house. Well, that's really not safety because the house, anything could happen to the house. Why do you want more money? Well, because I want to feel like I'm worthy of my parents' affection. Okay, well, that's not really a why. Why do you want more money? Because I deeply desire freedom to say yes to anything that I want to. Maybe your authentic word is family, because I deeply desire to make memories with my family. Why do you want more money? Because travel is one of my authentic words and I love making memories and traveling and having experiences. So when you really start investigating your roadmap, once you have a why, we will be able to start making your roadmap as to how you're going to get to where you want to go. When your why is aligned, discipline becomes devotion. Self-integrity actually becomes self-love. You get to see it as an act of true devotion to yourself and not to the actual exercise or the money or the health, whatever it is. You get to be in congruence with creating something that is really aligned with you authentically, which is your why. So let's reframe quickly what the manifestation and the MiSelf way is, and the MiSelf method. First of all, I want you to understand that your self-awareness, your ability to look at yourself with curiosity and not judgment, is your ability to notice when your sabotage is coming up. All too often see people get down on themselves when they snooze their alarm, don't get up. Oh my God, I did it again. I'm trying to eat really well and look after my body and I just ate crap 5 times this week. Whatever that is for you. That you're trying to save to go on a trip and you keep spending all your savings. Whatever that is for you, awareness and your ability to be honest and look at yourself with curiosity and love and not judgment and shame is going to be the first step in this. And once you do that, you can start creating some safety in the body. So what we need is some nervous system stability so that change doesn't feel so threatening. And that might be for you meditation. That might be for you 5 minutes of breath work. That might be for you just thinking in the morning, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm committed to. This is how I want to show up. But creating safety actually requires you to create intention. You need to have an intention for what you're wanting to create, and you need to remind yourself every single day. You need an aligned why, an anchor in the reason that feels true for you. What is aligned? What do you want? Why? Why do you want that thing? Investigate and really come down to the core authentic way, and that will complement what you're trying to create. Then you have to have a discipline. You need to devote your discipline as if you're devoting it to your self-love. We keep absolutely self-sabotaging when we don't think that we are worthy of, when we don't think that we deserve, when we don't think that it's possible for us, when we think everyone else's needs need to come before our own, when we think our responsibilities and our shoulds all become before our own, right? But it is not true. You need to have a devoted discipline to yourself. Put your own oxygen mask on. If you are caring for other little people and you are not showing them how to put yourself first, how to manifest, how to look at yourself as important with self-love and discipline and respect and self-trust, then what are you teaching them? You must learn the skills so that you can mentor and model those skills to the next generation. And there's no excuses with that. You can come at me if you want, but there is no excuses with that. You must keep your small promises to yourself, because this is what builds self-trust, is in the discipline, in the consistency, in the self-love. And lastly, embodiment. Embodiment is living it every single day, although you have already received it. Living it every day as if you believe it, that it's part of who you are. Making choices that reflect your desires and what you're wanting to create. Because embodiment is the act of self-love. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but it will not be turned into wisdom unless you live it. You can read and listen to this podcast and do anything that you want, but unless you take action and unless you turn it into something that you can use in your life, it will just sit there as information. We want more than information. We want empowered women standing up and taking complete control, or let's say via self-love for themselves, by making the choices that's going to get them to where they want to go. Okay. And I believe everyone has the opportunity to do this. And this is something that you can even ask yourself, what one thing could I change in my life right now? Just one thing that is going to give me more empowerment so that I can see more opportunity and more gap to get me to where I want to go. How can I make one choice today, one change today? Can I ask for someone? Can I ask someone for what I need? Can I ask for support? What can I choose today that is going to empower me to get me to where I want to? You know, self-sabotage isn't your enemy. It is actually protecting you and keeping you safe. So if we can stop demonizing self-sabotage and demonizing, oh my God, I can't and I haven't, you can really start looking at it with curiosity, because it's showing you exactly where you don't feel safe to receive. It's showing you exactly where you are not showing up in your life that's in alignment to where you're wanting to go. So you can either sit back and go, oh my God, I self-sabotage, or you can go, oh, this is my roadmap. This is actually my roadmap showing me exactly what I need to look at, what blocks I need to remove, what beliefs I need to look at so that I can feel safe to receive and to get to where I want to go. When you meet that with love and your why is strong enough, the sabotage becomes fuel for your manifestation. Because manifestation is not about wishful thinking and just positive affirmations. It's about becoming, being disciplined, having enough self-love that you show up every single day as the person that you want to become, experiencing the things that you want to experience. And that's where you get to empower yourself for your future, for what you're trying to create, for your family, for yourself, because you deserve it. You absolutely deserve it. And I'd love to know from you if this has resonated. I'd love to hear where your sabotage is showing up. I'd love to hear if this has sparked anything in you that's been like, oh my God, I get it. This is where I'm sabotaging. The other thing that I say to my clients is out yourself. Like, speak it. This is where I'm sabotaging. I am choosing to not do this. So I'm going to empower myself and choose to do this. If you feel like outing yourself, message me, put it on your stories on Instagram and tag me so I can reshare it and see it. The more empowerment we can give to each other of outing ourselves in our self-sabotage will give us an opportunity to choose again. The more empowered women we have in this world, the better off this world will be. The more empowered women achieving their dreams and making money and having beautiful, loving relationships. That is the mission that is on my heart. And if you're here, I know that is a mission on your heart as well. And I really love that you're here. And it's been a really big topic today. But just remember, with everything that we do, being ready and making change is not about sitting back and waiting for a feeling or waiting for someone else to do it for us. It is about making a decision in your life to do better right now. I'll see you next week.